thank you very much. My first question, Andrea Bajani, is this one. Can we say that literature is also a book of houses?
That's a good question. Yeah, in a way we can say for sure that every book is a house, and I would say that every book is a house in a double meaning. Meaning, for us as writers, I would say that every time I start writing a novel, it's kind of trying to build a house for my future, and it's a place that where I will live for a while. I will live for a year, 2 years, 6 years. So I will spend lots of time in that house I'm living in, and that house will be full of life, full of past, full of future. It'll be kind of a habitat, a perfect habitat. And at the same time, we could say that also for readers, a book is a house. So it's a place where you knock on the door, and on the door there's the name of an author, and there's a beautiful image on the cover, on the main door of a house. And then you are immediately, as soon as you start reading, you are in a house. And so reading is also being a guest in the house of someone else. But at the same time, as in every house, you are always a guest and the host at the same time, meaning you are always someone that is a foreigner, but then you try to feel at home in the place where you are. So for sure, literature is a way of building houses through books, but it's also a way of building houses in terms of building a new society, trying to build a new idea of human being, of new architecture. Is being a writer is also a way of building house in a way you don't even know. So it's like being an architect with no previous idea of what building a house means. So we are always architects of architecture that we imagine, and then in the end will be a beautiful or a terrible building made of words.
Mm-hmm. Can the novel, can the books be more solid, be more stronger houses than ordinary houses? If so, in what sense? How exactly?
For sure, meaning that the house you build in a book, it's a house that is going to last forever. And for sure, it's a house that you yourself build for yourself, and it's not someone who built it for you. Even if it's a book is a house built by someone else, by an author, but you are the one who will put in the house yourself. And houses are just nothing without human beings, without the interior life, without dreams, without future, without compassion, without fears. And so for sure, a house built with words is a house that is more complete because it includes the soul.
Mm-hmm. How can a book like this, your book, The Book of Houses, be born? What did you see? What did you feel in such a way that you decide to write a book?
Oh, well, it was a very factual thing, the starting point, meaning I wanted to go see the house where I was born in Rome, when I was a little boy. And actually I did it, and I tried to knock on the door, and I entered, and there were two old people just feeling kind of embarrassed with me going in, and they were kind of they had this face of someone that feels completely intrusive in my past, in my childhood, as if they were squatting in my childhood. And so when I did that, I realized that this was kind of a way to, that what I really wanted with that knocking on that door was I wanted to try to make something impossible. I wanted to meet the myself I was when I was 3. And this was completely impossible in real life. So I would have liked to see a little boy run towards me, the little boy I was, and it was impossible. And so all of a sudden I thought, oh, actually, I would like to meet all the eyes I was, all the myself I was, and I thought, so where are these eyes? Where are these myselves living? And I thought, okay, they are probably in all the houses I spent my life in. And so literature can do that. It can make this action become possible, and meeting all the people you were when at different ages. And this made me possible also to think that the identity, that the ones we think we are, and we always try to make a kind of a linear summary of the people we are, saying, oh, I was that, and piling up all the events in order to make a summary of our lives. But then it's not true. Then we are just different people, still living in different houses. And so saying I, or writing about yourself, or trying to visualize your life, is just to accept that we are different people, and that our identity is just a puzzle of different people, not consistent with each other, probably similar, but not that much. And the one we say, the one we call I in this moment, is just the puzzle of the other ones, not necessarily more similar to one or another.
Mm-hmm. So we are a house of houses, actually.
Actually, yes, a condo.
Mm-hmm. On the other hand, it is fair to say that this book was born in a minute, in a flash, from a flash, like a poem. You told how this novel began, ringing the doorbell of a house, of your childhood house, starting from a poem.
What?
Or like a poem.
Yeah,
like a poem. Yes.
Like a poem, meaning, but like a poem, the poem was not ringing the bell. The poem was, for me, the very difference between how a novel usually starts, or a poem starts. And I'm a happier poet than, happier as a poet than as a novelist. Because the novel, when the poem knocks on your door, is already done, meaning the biggest part of the poem is done, is the vision you have all of a sudden, and then you can work also for months on a poem, but it comes with the sound, with the phrase, usually with some words, and then it's done. I mean, there's nothing to really be desperate for, whereas a novel can die at every single minute until it's done. A novel is an attempt to build a house that can really crash in every moment until it's closed, it's completely done. In this specific novel, The Book of Homes, was I could see it in 1 minute, meaning that it came with like a poem, in the sense that I had a sound, I had a phrase, I saw the structure. So I had a language and the structure. That's basically what you need to build up a novel. And then that was it. And then 7 years writing it to discover something that was I couldn't fail anymore. That was the point.
Mm-hmm. What you are fundamentally, what you are more, a prose writer dubbed by a poet, or a poet dubbed by a prose writer?
Oh, I'm not sure, because the one who is talking to you is the novelist in this moment. So I think at least I'm a condominium of writers. There are at least 2 or 3 writers, because there's also the writer of reportage, so the reporter as well. And so I guess we are a kind of a community. We try to help each other, meaning also my readers, they think that as a novelist, I'm a poet, and as a poet, I'm a novelist. Meaning that when I write novels, I'm very much influenced by my friend poet that lives in me with the same name, saying the sound, please, the sound. Here, I need a sound. I need image. And when I write,
the music, the sound.
Music, please, music. Whereas when I write as a poet, there's my friend writer, novelist, who says, please write things, concrete things, stories. So I guess we are at least a band of 2 people.
How can poetry enhance a writer's prose?
I guess, first of all, as we were saying, in terms of music, the musicality of the writing is something that comes from poetry. Then, but I guess the thing that is more struggling is the necessity of writing, meaning that written words in poetry and in prose are completely, in a way, they are completely different. Meaning, when you write poems, when I write poetry, I'm not sure where these words come from. And I'm sure that they are kind of carved in stone, meaning they are really carved in a rock. And I don't know where they come from, but for sure, there's something that when they get to be on a poem, they can't be touched by me anymore. Meaning it's impossible for me when a poem is being discovered, like a sculpture from a piece of stone.
Mm-hmm.
It's impossible then to move words. I can't just say, okay, this word I have to find a synonym. When it's done, a poem, even if when working you work also with rhymes, with the rhythm, but whereas in prose, in a way, you can always change words. You can always, because words in prose, they are more human, more
fluid.
But they're fluid, but they also they play a function. They have to bring water. I don't know how you say, like in bicycle racing, right? There are the ones who bring water to the others. No, the kind of people who bring to eat to the one that is supposed to win in the team. Yeah. And so words in prose writing are more like this. They have to play a function. They have to, there's something very concrete. You have to build a bridge from one scene to another. So it's something more prosaic in the real sense, right? And but for me, since I'm a poet, I'm condemned to work in prose in a way to make my phrases in prose being as necessary as the phrases I write in poetry. So for me, it's very hard. So my real goal is to get to a novel, and the Il Libro delle Case, the Book of Homes, is that in which it's gonna be impossible for me to move a single word. That's why it took so long to write it.
Returning to the Book of Homes, does our identity necessarily include the sum of the houses we have lived in?
Yes and no, meaning that when we abandon a house, when we move to another house, we also abandon the ones we were in that house. Meaning in the new house, we are a different person, not necessarily the sum of the ones we were in the houses before. That's why it's so relieving, and so for everybody, for lots of people, it's so interesting and so appealing to change the place where they live, because they think that they can be new people. So I don't think it's a sum. I think we bring, as always, when we leave a house, we bring something of the house we were in. And so we bring something of the people we were into the new identity. But it's, for sure, it's much less than the sum of the people we were in the houses before.
But a house, is a house really the image of the person who lives in it?
It depends. For sure, it's the image of a very important part of that person. Sometimes it's completely matching, meaning it's completely the same. So you can go to visit people at their place, and you can get out of the place and say, oh, wow, the house is exactly as I imagine it would have been. I mean, a chaotic person with a chaotic house. Sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes you discover part of the soul of another person just because you go and visit them in their house. And so maybe it's a warm person, and then you go visit them, they invite you over for dinner, and the house is completely cold. And so from that, you can see part of the personality of the person who invited you that you didn't suspect. So for sure, they reflect and they mirror one important part of ourselves. Not sure all of us.
What do your houses tell us from the Book of Homes? What do they talk to us? How do they talk to us? Not what. How do they talk to us?
I don't know how they talk to the readers, because the readers can say that for sure they know everything, and they are the only ones, our houses, that know the truth about us, the way we are when we are without spectators in a house, is our kind of truth. And so the walls are the only ones. That's why I want, in a way, the houses to tell the story and not me.
Mhm. What is the, let's say, essential house here in your novel? Maybe the turtle's shell?
I don't know. I think that there's no essential house. I guess can be there's the house of words. That's the place where the I goes and write. I guess it's the only one who that will resist forever. That's writing. As we were talking, we are saying at the very beginning, is the most durable, is the most permanent house we have. So the house of words is for sure the essential house, because it's the place where you come from and you can go back to. That is writing. It's the only place where, for which you don't need walls and you have everything with you, the word and yourself.
Our houses speeches us about the limits, our limits, and about the order, or are they also invitations to go beyond our limits?
That's an interesting question, because they are limits, for sure. And that's very important, and that's very useful, because we need limits. Since we are kids, since we are little ones, without limits, we can't define ourselves. We will be just lost without limits. But at the same time, they are magnets. They invite us because they are options of life, of a different kind of lives. Meaning, if there's a terrace, the terrace will invite you go outside and see the sky. If there's a stair, you will walk down. So they also, with their personality, they will shape our personality. For sure, we are completely in a dialogue with them. So they are, I would say, they invite us being the person we are, even without knowing, being aware of the person we are. Because maybe we didn't know we wanted to go outside and see the sky. And since there's a terrace, we're going to do that. But it's just what we are, but in a dialogue with the place.
How did you decide to use the house as a symbol? Analytically speaking, in what ways you decide to use exactly the house?
I never really decided, since
house choose you.
But it's since I did this thing of going to the house where I was born and going around, that was ready. Yeah, so the house, it happened that I started describing the first house and I found myself in. So I was just, I started just looking for other houses. And but actually something that is old in me, meaning is an obsession and that I've been having for years, and that's why I changed so many houses in my life, but also in my previous books. I guess the starting point, one of the main topics has always been the obsession with houses.
Which of your imaginary houses are more solid, are stronger than the houses we can see, touch, and so on?
The house of words, as I was saying, and I would say the most solid is, I don't know if it's the essential, because the essential is the house of words, but the most solid probably is the house of friendship. I guess friendship is the most solid house ever. There's nothing like friendship who will offer a roof and a warm soup and a bed than friendship.
But the house of memory, how fragile it is, how strong is it? It is the house of memory, actually, a form of what Václav Havel told 10 years ago, a form of power without power.
The house of memory is such a tricky house, meaning it's a house that is at the same time, it's kind of a primordial moment, a house of memory. So it's reassuring and troubling at the same time. It is an invisible house. It's sometimes it appears and sometimes not, but it's not the place where I would like to live in. Actually, I mean, I'm a melancholic, but I'm not nostalgic. So I prefer the house of where I live every time. So I prefer the present, the house of today.
Mm-hmm. Who is Yo, the great character from the book of Holmes? It is like a kind of spirit of the houses, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a very interesting way of seeing it. It's it's the spirit of a house, but and then every house has its own spirit, and we can say just that. You're completely right, and it's otherwise we don't know anything about this Yo. There's a mystery. So that's why this is also kind of a crime novel, because it's hard to know who this guy is.
Is the house of a big love still unnecessarily a huge house?
No. The house of love is always very tiny. It's like the wedding ring. No, it doesn't occupy so much space, and it's the most comfortable and portable house you can have. That's why love is so powerful, because you can always find a little door in yourself and just shelter there and be happy for a few minutes and then get out and feel stronger.
Two more short questions. What is the most important house you have lived in all of your life?
Actually, the House of Words, it's a study that is in Torino, and was a kind of it's not even it's a room in a house of other people, where other people have their company, but it's an apartment, and it's kind of my embassy. It's the embassy of my words, the embassy of myself. So I think this is the most important place, in the most important house, even if it was just one room, but I could go there and sit there and build my own houses from sitting there, and sometimes get out of the room and have a tea with a friend and then come back in my embassy.
And the last one, which is the strongest and most beautiful of the houses you know from all of this world, from all the times, also in the symbolical sense, maybe the God, maybe the Bible, maybe, I don't know, the supreme house, the ultimate house.
Yourself.
Oh, good.
The self.
Very good.
The self. If you can get to find the door, the self is the atomic house. But you have to find the door. It's not easy. That's why we write, to find that door. From that door, you can see but even the door, not only the key. Yeah, and sometimes you don't know. You think you can get in from somewhere, it's not true. And from there, you can see the sky. You can think of God. You can love. But if you can't enter, you can't get in that house. There's no house that can be comfortable for you. No single one. With that one, you have the chance to get somewhere else.
Thank you very much. It was a great privilege to have this dialogue. And congratulations for the book. I love very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.